Hey guys, I'm Sonnet with Sonnet's Garden Blooms, and I want to welcome you all back to my channel. Thanks so much for stopping by, and in today's video I am taking an old rolling cart and I am transforming it for my studio. So I have been talking about my studio for a while, and it's been kind of turned into my stash. Like it houses my stash. So I decided to do it live, and I wanted to get my studio ready for that. I did not get it decorated, but it looks pretty presentable, and I wanted my rolling cart ready to go ahead and be like where I do all my projects. So that is what I worked on today. I also started a set of chairs, and unfortunately, because it's crazy chaos here in my home today, those did not get finished, but I just have to recover them and they're set to go. For the live tonight, I had bought a Wi-Fi extender, and let me tell you, it should be so simple to hook up, and it wasn't. So thank goodness I live next door to IT. Individual does IT, and he came over and he was actually stumped for a little bit, but he was able to get it up and running, and now I have Wi-Fi in my studio. So thank goodness for him. Thank you, Jordan. And I hope you enjoyed today's video. It's a little glimpse of everything that's been kind of going on with the studio. So here is a little glimpse of what the studio looked like before. I had a ton of stuff just leaning against the one back wall. The two dressers that I had always intended on redoing, the drawers were out, they were just sitting. However, I had a bunch of chairs, just tons of stuff in here that needed to be done. So I organized and got it ready to go. For today's video, we are going to tackle this rolling cart. I have been working diligently on trying to finish my studio, and this cart is going to be the area where I work on and store some of my supplies. So I know I talked about doing some flipping. Well, I'm flipping this cart today, and I got this free. My husband's cousin was moving, and she gave me quite a few pieces. I've flipped several of them already, and this cart I knew I was going to use in my studio. So I decided we're gonna put like a type of paper on top of it, and the base I decided to go with aviary. And the reason I chose aviary is because I am going to show you a clip of my studio, and I have this really old vintage hutch, and inside, you may or may not be able to tell, but that is basically the color of aviary. So I think they tried to refinish this at one point when I picked it up, but I think that having that aviary will work perfect. Now, I also picked these two chairs out of the garbage, and they look a little rough, but I'm going to give them definitely a makeover. We are going to recover the seats, and we are going to paint them a gray. And I picked up the gray as an oopsie paint, and the reason I chose that gray is because I'm making a custom barn quilt with that gray as the base. So here is aviary, and this is by far one of my favorite color greens by DIY. I'm taking it and I am going to apply 2 coats of DIY's aviary to the entire piece, letting them dry in between coats, and I just am loving this, how it's turning out, and it just started. I'm like, oh, I love a fresh coat of paint on a piece like this. So here is coat 1. The whole piece is done. I'm going to let it dry, and then we're going to go back and apply coat 2, and then I am going to do a bit of distressing to this. I just like to do that in case it gets bumped. So while that's drying, here is the paint that I'm going to use. Now, I did pick it up for $2 at Home Depot, and the reason why I picked it up was because all my bases of my barn quilt, I do like to use like a paint like this. And since it's going to be inside and I liked that gray, I grabbed it for $2, and then I thought, why not paint the chairs the same color to kind of tie it all in. I also have some shelves in there that have a gray to it as well, so I think it's going to kind of tie that all in. So I am applying 2 coats of this paint to both of the stools. I'm going to let them dry, go back and distress them. When I did that, when I went back and did my distressing, I did not like some of that red that came out. So then I went back and I did another type of like finger painting. I just stuck my finger in some aviary and kind of rubbed it all over the edges. Then I took some vintage linen and rubbed it all over, and then wet distressed it a little bit more, and I really like how the chairs turned out. So here's a peek at what the chairs look like with 2 coats of paint. And I definitely like them, but I also really like my shabby chic and my distressed look, and that is what I was going for. So I took my sander and I just distressed some of the edges. And when I was doing that, this is where things kind of went awry. I have some of that red came through, and even though I do really like red, I did not want that red in coming through on the chairs. So here is the finished product, and I love how, this is going to be like my art studio where I create here. And after I got finished with this, I just loved them. I loved how it looked like they had some random, like paint splatter on them. And I cannot wait to get these covered and to start using them. So here is a peek of my studio, and this has definitely been a work in progress. I initially had those shelves hung, but they were closer in, so I could not get that hutch in. So I took the shelves off, and then I had to patch the holes. And when I did that, I repainted that back wall. I used Alabaster by Sherwin-Williams. And then what I did this week also is I painted both of those side cabinets. Now, if you have been following along for a while, I picked those up from an estate sale last year for $4 each. I knew right away that I was going to use them in here. Last year at Antique Acres, I also picked up that hutch. And when I repainted those dressers, because there was a lot of chippy paint on there, I sanded them down, or I scrubbed them down. I just didn't want a lot of flaking. I then painted those both white swan, and then I used a clear wax, and then I used a dark wax to make them distressed looking. I did the exact same thing for the hutch. Whoever redid it had kind of like a brown wax, and I did not like that. So I painted the front of the doors the white swan. I used that dark wax as well. And I absolutely love how they all tied together and turned out. So here is a peek of how far I have gotten on this rolling cart. Now it is 2 coats of the aviary. I also distressed it with the hand sander, and now I'm going to go ahead and apply a poly over the entire piece. I normally do use Big Top, but because I had some extra poly that I've been trying to use up, I am going to use the poly to clear coat the entire piece. So anytime you're using DIY paint, I know I've mentioned this before, but the paint can be reactivated. So you always want to apply a top coat or like a poly. I found this wrapping paper a while ago and I've used it on other projects, and so I love how it looks, and I was going to try the liquid patina from DIY and see how it would work with that. I've used Mod Podge in the past. Now, one thing that I think happened here was it is very hot and humid today in Wisconsin. Because of that, I think it caused quite a few wrinkles in the paper. So I laid it out just like I would with any of the decoupage paper, and I just applied a nice coat, even coat of liquid patina to the entire piece and then laid it down. It went on really nice and smooth, and then as it started drying, I guess as it was going or drying, it started to wrinkle. So I've never had that happen before, and I'm wondering, because I am not in air conditioning out in my studio and it is pretty hot and humid, if that was the case. But I am going to let it thoroughly dry and then come back and put just a really nice top coat of the liquid patina on top to seal it, and we'll see how it looks after that. And I'll definitely give you guys an update. But I love this paper. I think it looks so pretty against the aviary. So I'm hoping it turns out and it's not where I have to like sand it off. One thing too that I should mention, what I decided to do, because the patterns did not match up, I basically decided I was going to put one piece on each end and then put one directly over the center. And initially I cut off like the white ends. If you can see, there's like a white strip around the whole piece. And because I had 2 packs of these, and then I tried to match everything up, and the patterns go the other way. So because of that, I decided to just get a little creative, and I figure eventually this will get probably full of paint and full of whatever, and then I'll have to replace it anyway. So I am very happy with how I laid this out currently. So what did you guys all think? What do you think of my studio? Yes, it is not decorated yet, but that will be for next week. The rolling cart, I actually really love how it turned out. I love the green aviary. It's one of my favorites. The top is still a work in progress. I'm not digging the wrinkles. I'm gonna let it dry because this is like, I'm a last minute Lucy today. I just, like I said, I had so much going on. I was trying to get ready for the live. It took a lot longer to hook up the Wi-Fi extender. So needless to say, things got a little pushed back. But anyways, so I will be live tonight at 6 o'clock Central Time. And for Friday's video, I am going to be maybe like decorating here or doing some flips. I do have Friday, Monday coming up pretty quick. So anyways, you guys have a great week. And for everyone who will be seeing me tonight on the live, we'll see you at 6. Bye.